Yay! God, that took long enough, didn't it? I was sitting there for like 3 minutes. Can you all see me now? Da-da-da-da-da. Or are you still waiting? Yay! Cool. Oh, this is so much fun. I'm so glad you guys could make it to my very, very first time being live on the internet, apart from that time in university. No, I'm not going to do stand-up the whole time, I promise. So we are. How many people are we? I don't even know how to tell. I am. Thank you. Gary says, "What a good way to have a Friday evening. This is going to be so much fun." I have notes. I basically just wrote an essay. I should have just done a video, but this is more fun. I'm sorry if I'm going to apologize firstly for the webcam quality because it's my laptop's built-in webcam. I don't have another one. And this is ensuring that the mic at least is not shitty. So I'm full on, what's the word? Air traffic controller today. So does anyone know how to tell how many people are watching? I don't know. Oh, yeah, right. Up on the screen. 6 people. That's nice. Very cozy. Great. I'm glad the sound is good. So we are talking about autistic masking, and for those of you who don't know me that well, which is probably all of you, I was only recently diagnosed at the age of 33. So I think I've probably done a really good job of masking my whole life, mostly because I didn't realize I was autistic. So masking is essentially putting on a mask. It's pretending to be neurotypical when you're not. It's pretending to fit in when you don't. It is mimicking the actions of other people in order to sort of desperately fit in and feel, like you're doing life correctly, I guess. So, oh, Amy has just said, hello. I masked so well, I didn't even get diagnosed until nearly 32. Yes, that's the same as me. I still doubt my diagnosis, so it's a weird feeling. Yeah, so I know exactly what you mean. I was thinking about this also. Being on YouTube is kind of like masking. I mean, it's like acting, isn't it, really? Because I am masking when I do videos, and I'm probably masking to a certain extent now, but it's kind of it's like this is artificial anyway. What situation would you have where you're talking to a computer and people across the world are watching you? There is an element of sort of artificialness about this. What was my point about that though? Doubting your diagnosis. Yeah, exactly. And so for me, masking is kind of like acting, right? But it's like you're acting the character of yourself. I play the role of Sam in life, and so I cultivate a persona that acts like a sort of persona that I would imagine that people want to be around, which sounds very kind of meta, and it really does make me doubt myself as well, because it's like, well, first of all, surely everyone feels this way, which is something that I'm kind of unpicking. Surely everybody feels this way could be said about so many of my autistic traits. But secondly, after 3 decades, you get really good at playing yourself. I mean, like, I'm a pro at this point. I'm a pro Sam. So Phillips just said, "You're speaking into a laptop. How crazy are you?" I know this feels weird. It does, but yeah, I'm really, really good at playing myself now. The only thing I will say is it's tiring sometimes. Although I feel very mellow today. I've had a nice, relaxing day. So this is tea, by the way. I wish it was wine, but it's not. Yeah, it's very rock and roll. Right, so let's read some of these comments. Girls are better at masking than boys. Perhaps, yes. I don't know that there's been enough done on it. It's kind of assumed that women are better, and the reason why that might be is because girls growing up are kind of expected to be more social, and if you're not social, it's more of a red flag, and you might be more likely to be diagnosed at a younger age and therefore do less masking. Oh, wow, we've got 15 people I've just seen, so that's cool. So I don't know that I think a lot of the gender or sex differences, depending on how you want to view it, of autistic boys and girls who masks more, might be due to our expectations of the two. So I mean, for me, it was maybe exaggerated because I went to an all girls school. I had all girls education, so I was only surrounded by girls, and therefore it was like a lot of autistic people say, oh, they fit in better with boys because there were none of these social expectations. But for me, I had no choice but to kind of play the part and fit in. So I think that's why I became such a heavy masker at that age, well, and throughout life, I guess. Let's read some of these comments. You guys are all chatty. It's so nice. A good sound, blah, 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 blah. Hi, Laurel. True Philip. I got diagnosed about 5 years ago at 42. Yeah, there's just so many people getting diagnosed, like in the last 5 years or something, people getting diagnosed at these ages. And I don't know whether it's because the diagnostic criteria has been extended. I don't know, but it's nice. Oh, kitty. Stop it! Oh my God, stop it! I was actually thinking, wouldn't it be funny if my cat came and threw up in the middle of the live stream? My cat has shredded the sofa. I'm sorry, I didn't hit her hard. Don't worry, it's not animal cruelty. Philip Blundell, your apostrophe. Yes, yep. It's hard to know your own real identities when masking all the time. Yeah, and I think actually that's how I know that I like people and how I know that I feel comfortable around people, because that's when I feel kind of my most authentic self, and these people don't drain me as much because I'm not having to do that all the time. Laurel says, I've always found boys easier to talk to. April said, yes. Oh, sorry. I think I'm getting nervous. I'm going to slow down a little bit. That's been me. I prepared to hang out with the boys who lived locally than the girls from school. I didn't understand their social games. It was funny though, because I mean, I went to an all girls boarding school, and it wasn't as bitchy as you might expect. Maybe I'm looking back through rose tinted, but it was more like maybe the fact that it was a boarding school, it was more like a social survival strategy. And so people formed alliances rather than cliques necessarily. But maybe that's just, 15, 20 years of hindsight. Boys are simpler to be around. Isn't masking more of a necessity? Since childhood, one gets corrected to behave in desired ways by oneself and others. Yeah, and I think that's true. And I'm kind of assuming this discussion. I knew someone would make a comment about all girls sounding nice. Sorry, this is very difficult trying to talk and also trying to follow the chat. So I'm just going to talk. No, I've already lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I did actually make notes, but you guys are chatting to me, which is unexpected. I was like, if there's going to be two people here, I better have something to say. So it was MIAR who said, we've all been corrected to behave in a certain way. And so I guess, neurotypical people mask as well. But it's not an ongoing thing. So they might mask in their at a party and they're sort of being polite, and then they put on a front. Whereas autistic masking is more about sort of, for me anyway, it's like perpetual state of feeling like I know I'm different and I have to correct this difference. If that makes sense. Whoa. It's all popping up. Yes, all of us. I agree with that. Cool. It's good that we're in our little echo chamber, isn't it? Masking for me became much more difficult after my health went downhill and I became chronically ill. I totally get that. And I think that's what happened to me as well. I masked so well, and through my 20s, I was just like, I started a social group. I moved to the Netherlands. I actually started a social meetup group for the purpose of meeting people and talking to people. That's how much I was masking. Um, I don't do it anymore. But I had my child, and that was when I started to think that I was autistic, because all of a sudden my energy plummeted and I couldn't do it anymore. And I think that is the key for autistic people. You can mask, but there's a cost, and the cost might be energy. And when you're in your 20s, you can sleep it off. You can go out on a Friday night or whatever, and then you can sleep all of Saturday. That's fine. But then you have a kid and you've got to get up at 5 a.m. on Saturday, and you don't have a chance to have that kind of recovery built into your life. And that's when it starts becoming a problem. Um, so yeah, I can see if you get a chronic illness or something like that, that is also when masking um, becomes more difficult, because it's like sort of spoon theory. You've only got so many spoons, and masking takes up a lot of it. So that's yeah. I got diagnosed at 26. I really wish they'd put this bigger. I feel like an old person trying to squint at the screen. I wish it came a lot earlier in life. I've been through a lot of trauma with rejection in early adulthood. Yeah, I understand that. I'm better now as I'm 2 years fully permanent employed. Cool. Congratulations, Philip. Um, Bert says the energy it took for the level of masking that people were used to just became too much to keep up like I used to. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was saying. It's like actually, the psychologist who diagnosed me, this is what she was saying. She said, you can do it for a few years, you can do it for 10 years maybe, but can you keep it up for 20 or 30? And I think this is where you start to see people in their 30s or 40s or 50s getting diagnosed, because all of a sudden they can't do it anymore. It's weird. I actually don't feel like I'm masking very much at the moment. I feel pretty comfortable considering I'm broadcasting live on the internet. It's a bit weird. Maybe I should do stand up. Hey, give this video a like if you think I should do stand up. Right, where am I in the comments? Masking for an autistic is like a neurotypical trying to talk to air traffic control. It's not natural and must be practiced. Exactly. That's the thing. For neurotypical people, just kind of comes naturally. You learn these things, you pick up these subtle hints. And for me, it's just like, I don't know when somebody is trying to leave a conversation in real life or on the phone. I really wish I did know. If they have those body language experts that say, like, oh, if their feet are pointing away, it's because they're looking to leave. I don't know if that's true. Is that true, though? Are people really so transparent that it's easy formula? Because I find I just can't pick that sort of stuff up anyway. So it's a whole different language, and that's why um, I think to some people it seems like we can be fake. We can seem like we're being fake because essentially we are being fake. We're not being ourselves, because if we are ourselves, we have to admit that we don't have a clue what's going on, and that puts us in a vulnerable position. Um, hmm. Who said you were old? Are you talking about me? Thank you, Sam. Cool. Right. Gary says, I felt at school that was encouraged to work in teams, but I was treated as just being shy in school, so which at school I could mask better. So I wish at school I could mask better because of teasing at school. Yeah. Well, I I mask to avoid being bullied. I don't feel like I got bullied at school, but I started masking because I thought that I might. if I wasn't careful. So actually, I should really look at my notes because I'm sure I wrote something about this one. I'll come back to that when I've stopped through the comments. Do I find it easier talking to boys? No, I find it really well, boy. Are we talking about boys or men? Because I mean, as a teenager, I couldn't talk to boys. It was quite embarrassing. I it was like I physically couldn't talk to them, I suppose. Is that selective mutism? I'm not sure. Um, then when I was about 18, I discovered this wonderful thing called alcohol, which I will talk about later as well. Abby J says, I'm usually the one trying to leave the conversation, but don't know how. Yes, I also do that. Um, Trying to drop hints like a neurotypical, like, yeah, anyway. Or just, all these little words like, yeah, anyway. But whenever I'm trying to leave a conversation, I end up dragging the person back into it and I don't know how. So I end up trapped in this kind of spiral. Um, you're not masking because you're talking to autistics. Good point. By the way, talking with ATC is more natural to me than buying gasoline. ATC, air traffic control. I don't understand that comment. I have an electric car anyway, so I don't buy gasoline. But talking to air traffic control, do you work Flying Falcon? Do you work in air traffic control? Oh, I think I know who you are. Do I know you in real life? Because I think I do know who you are. Sam. Oh, please tell us you no longer use booze to be more social. No, I don't. That's a lie. I don't use it. I want to talk about alcohol a little bit later. So, no, and yes, yes and no. Can I tell when somebody is being fake? Yes. And in the past, I have chosen to ignore that at my peril. I think that I am one of these people that can pick up very well what are they called? Not microaggressions, micro expressions. So micro expressions are sort of small things your face pulls before you make the expression that you, like a neurotypical person, is being fake nice. And they're like, oh, it's so nice to see you. But before they say that, they'll go, "Mm." I don't know how to do a micro expressions fake slowed down, so that was my impression of that. Um, sorry, I've completely lost my train of thought. Yes, micro expressions. What was talking about there? You guys are commenting so fast. I can't see the comment that I was. Can I tell when someone's being fake? Yes. So I pick up on micro expressions. But my problem is that I either ignore them because I sort of gaslight myself into thinking like, no, don't be silly, don't be silly. But because I pick up on so much of what people are saying, um, it's like I have so much information, but then I have to kind of go over and process it with higher level thought processes. And once you start doing that, you're no longer reacting on a gut instinct like neurotypicals, oh, I don't have a nice feeling about that. I'm like, well, theoretically, this isn't logical for this person to do that. So I over rationalize it. And I also have a really hard time accepting that there are some people out there who are just really shitty people. And so, especially when I come into contact with these people, I tend to rationalize that away because I'm like, well, it doesn't make sense. So why would they be a shitty person? Because I don't, you know. So I can tell that people are being fake, but I don't always quite get it right. I don't know. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Boys and men and teenagers. I guess that was the earlier thing. Melissa says, yes, alcohol. This is tea, by the way, for those of you who have just joined. It's tea, I promise. What are you guys drinking anyway? Let me know. Right. Lena says, taught myself to mask to survive, becoming quite good at it, and I use a lot of humor in day-to-day as a go-to when I can't make small talk. I rely a bit too much on it, though. Same. Yeah, I make a lot of jokes, and some might say inappropriate jokes. I'm one of those people that using humor was one of my main masking things as a teenager, because I figured if I was funny, people would like me and they would want to spend time with me. I'm not saying that I'm hilarious or anything. I do laugh at myself quite a bit though, so at least I'm having fun. Melissa says, see, the emojis are so freaking small. I wonder if I can actually zoom it in a bit more. I don't want to do anything to the browser in case it shuts it down. Okay. We call it petrol in England. Yes, we do. I was just going to say something really funny, like, no, it doesn't matter. What are you drinking now? Tea. Tea, Phil. Alcoholic tea. No, no, this is not alcoholic tea. This is like a white or green tea. Um, Annabelle says, all over micro expressions. Didn't realize it was a thing or that not everyone could see them. Yeah, well, most people can see them to a certain extent, but there are some people, there's a subset of people who are micro. Do you know what? I can't remember a damn thing since I had a since I had a child. The words. There are some people. You know how some people are super tasters. There are some people who are just really, really good at picking up on micro expressions, like that TV show which was called "Lie to Me," and the other TV show which was pretty much the same show, which was called it was the guy who used to be a con man and then started working in a police procedural. Lie to Me, and there was another one. God, I can't remember what it was called. It was very similar, but yeah. So actually, I really liked both of these TV shows. Um, I build airplanes. I've grown up where my avatar is called Good Old Girl Knows Art. I don't understand that whole comment, but I guess you like planes. My avatar. Oh, the picture. Okay. Nose art. I like that nose art. Cognitive rewilding. Hello, great chat. Hello, Helen. Not drinking nout right now. Oh, well, if you're thirsty, get some water. Hydration is very important. Drinking Earl Grey tea, nice. I try and think neurotypical when around a group of neurotypicals. Sweet tea. I'm Southern. Ah, okay, that makes sense. But no, because if it was, yeah, it would be unsweetened tea. Yes, and never mind. Do you know what? I need to actually get my notes on because I'm now just looking and rambling. My jokes are not as bad. Your jokes are not as bad as mine. I like to hear that. T, lie to me. Yes, I'm in Amsterdam. Yes, I am. Someone in Missouri. That's so cool. The Mentalist. Yes, Carrie, that is right. The Mentalist and Lie to Me are the two shows which are different but essentially the same. Somebody says, I'm wearing the hippie blouse from the thrift store today. Nice. I am indeed. It's actually very warm, but I am drinking tea. So cool. Right. I'm going to get my notes because I actually had a way more of a structure to what I wanted to talk about. Melissa is Dutch, but she lives in the UK. Oh, we've swapped. Bet you're regretting that move. I'm just kidding. Oh my God, let's not talk politics, please. Otherwise, I will have to get the gin. Right. So, all these notes that I've got, I was talking about the song Let It Go, actually, because, you know, the Frozen song, because it has lyrics. And I don't know how much of the lyrics I can actually say without Disney suing me. But the refrain or the chorus or whatever is conceal, don't feel. And the whole thing with Disney, with Elsa in this movie, is that she's like trying to repress it down. She's like, don't show, don't let them see. And I was just thinking I wonder if Elsa could be autistic. I don't know if you guys think that. Let's see your notes. Please no talk about it. Was that talking about politics? Right. So how much is sorry, I'm so see, this is the thing. I don't even know if I actually have ADHD or not because when I'm no, I suppose it's autistic, switching tasks, isn't it? Like I'm on camera now and then I look at my notes and all of a sudden those lyrics are beautiful. Right. So talking about why we mask. I mean, we've kind of covered this actually, talking about fitting in and cultivating relationships with people, even people that, you know, we feel reasonably comfortable with. There's a certain degree of masking. And essentially it's kind of like a shield, isn't it? It's a way of controlling or attempting to have control over, I don't know, the way that people perceive you. Because if you kind of like your weird, freaky, autistic self, then you don't know how people are going to respond. But if you craft a person out of people you've seen on TV and your friends, and if you make this person, and then you play the role of this person, it's safe, isn't it? It's a safety blanket. So it's easy to see why autistic people mask, and especially people with who are very sensitive to things like expressions. They might really see micro expressions and copy them. There's a lot of autistic people who go into acting. Anthony Hopkins. Is it Anthony Hopkins who's autistic? Let me know. Somebody can Google right now. I'm not able to Google. The thing I was most nervous about in this live stream was like, if I need to pee, what do I do? Do I just get up and leave you guys? I don't know. What is the etiquette? I do not know. Anyway, so the camouflage, and it's funny though, because I've only been diagnosed for, I don't know, less than a year, but I've always known that I was different, and I've always known that I stood out in some way, but I just didn't know why. So for me, masking was kind of like desperately trying to, like a duck paddling against. I'm trying to think of a metaphor here. Somebody give me a metaphor for what I'm trying to say. It's like desperately fighting against the flow of people can see you, people have rumbled they know you're not one of them, they know you're not real, and you're like, no, I'm like you, I'm just neurotypical, like nothing to see here, this is my face, da, da, da. So take the mic with you. Oh my gosh. These comments are getting saucy. So the camouflaging thing, it's kind of like 3 decades of duck and cover and hiding from the world, really. And that's why I've had really such a nice time doing this YouTube channel, because it's been a form of therapy for me to be suddenly unapologetically myself, and okay, edited, and in some respects I'm performing to camera, but in a lot of ways I've been letting my guard down way more than I have ever done, and it's been extremely refreshing, and so I can recommend it to you guys. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about as well, is sort of how to stop the the mask. Let me just have a look at some of these comments, see if I can catch up with you guys. Earlier you said I might know you. You don't. Okay. No, I just thought you were someone else who was a pilot because of the name. So that's all. I live in the USA. My comment about my avatar was so jumbled because I got giggly when talking or typing about Nice. Forget the comments for now, it's distracting. Okay, but I'm doing it in bits now, so let's hear your notes. Please don't talk about it. Those lyrics are beautiful. Elsa is a good metaphor for autism. I think so. Jane Austen could have been. Oh, yes, I totally have a whole theory about Jane Austen. Maybe I'll do a video on that. But I'd have to read like all her books first, because I want to be a perfectionist about this theory. My other theory with regards to pop culture is I'm rewatching Gilmore Girls, and I feel like there's very few neurotypical characters on that show. There's like one of the boyfriends, and then pretty much everyone else I am convinced is different aspects of autism. Let It Go fits perfectly for autism. I think so, yeah. He was diagnosed at 70, I think. Anthony Hopkins. Yeah, I remember reading that if it's him, it was a very late diagnosis. And I think that's awesome, though, because that's how he harnessed his autism for acting, And I actually really, funnily enough, I wanted to be an actress when I was about 12 or 13. I was obsessed with the TV show Friends. I wanted to be on a sitcom specifically. I did not want to be a movie star. I wanted to be a TV star. And being on YouTube is kind of like the same thing, isn't it, really? I mean, 26 people are watching me. Like, am I not as famous as the Friends people now? Right, more comments. More importantly, Sam, how are you coping with the diagnosis? Is it still new? Is it wonderful or depressing? Both, I think. Is it wonderful or depressing? It's been wonderful because I started this channel, and it's been wonderful because I found groups that have other autistic women in them. And it's been wonderful because it's like finally everything's making sense, and I'm being a lot kinder to myself. I'm saying when something happens, instead of immediately saying just deal with it, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe you're having an autistic freak out. Maybe you don't need to deal with this. And it's interesting because instead of thinking, how do I deal with this? I've said, okay, well, let's forget about that. Don't think about yourself. How would you help an autistic person through this? Not Sam, just an autistic person. And funnily enough, I can solve that problem. Oh, but autistic people don't like change. They don't like this and that. Oh, I understand. And it's like, oh, you think maybe we'll put the two together? Maybe you're autistic. It's taken me like a while to assimilate it into part of my identity. Identity. So it's been wonderful. It has been an exhausting process. And the nice thing is I do get help in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, that is the hardest thing I say on every single video. I have to blooper it out. So I get 2 hours a week of this guy coming to my house and helping me sort my shit out, which is fantastic. And it's pretty much free, actually. It was supposed to not be free, but like really, really cheap. And then they sent me a letter saying you owe us 0. So cool. But so that's the wonderful bit. I will say it has been depressing, and it's been hard. And it's been hard doing it with a 2-year-old as well, because, he's not been sleeping. I've not really been sleeping. And it's like, you go through phases. I go through phases where I'm on a big high, maybe like I've got a lot of comments on my YouTube video or something, and it's just like everything's falling into place. And then I have a few weeks, like I've just had a few weeks where I've just been unable to kind of do things. And that's actually why I decided to do a live. And next week's video is going to be a Q&A that I've already filmed, because I needed to give myself a little bit of slack. I want to show up every week here, but I also don't want to burn out. So, but things can change. And so I hope that I'm still on the waiting list for actual psychological help post-diagnosis. So that was a very, very long answer to your question, Philip. Gary says, it's jumped around. I can continue about Jane Austen, Mansfield Park. God, I haven't read that for ages. There is a play in the novel. Jane Austen used to put on her own plays, so I think she was masking about in the 1700s. 1700s. I can't remember when she was born. Yeah, I totally think that Jane Austen was autistic. She was so observant, and she was so wry, and she just had this kind of like no bullshit attitude, which I don't think was terribly common in 19th century society. So maybe I'll look into that and do a video on that. Stephen says, I think I just read it was Anthony Hopkins. Great the public can associate us with his famous psycho killer portrayal. That is the problem, though, isn't it? When there are so few autistic role models, is like we all get associated with, maybe not psycho killer portrayal, but now that Greta Thunberg is really famous, she's probably one of the more famous autistic people in the world, and now like she's the poster child for female Asperger's. And I'm just trying to think of, other famous autistic people and drawing a blank. But yeah, it's sort of like maybe the problem is that we just need more people who are famous and prominent and out there about their autism, who talk about it like that. And then it's sort of less stereotyped, and people will be less sort of people will stereotype less based on fictional portrayals like, Sheldon in The Big Bang Theory, or the guy from Atypical, whose name I can't remember. Actually, I think his name was Sam, wasn't it? Don't know. But yeah, I mean, when people only know these stereotypical portrayals, or like, oh yeah, everybody has a nephew who's, 6-year-old is autistic or something, apparently, which makes them an expert, by the way. So, duck, where? Duck? Don't hide, Sam. Life will pass you by, and before you know it, you'll be 50. Cheers, Philip. Cheers. Sam, do you keep your guard up or down? A little bit of both. My guard. At the moment, it's pretty down, but I've had a chill out day, so. Lena says, ooh, cat. Yes, my cat is there. Where is my other cat? I have another cat that nobody believes I have because she's terrified, but I thought she'd come out for this live stream, but she hasn't. No, sorry. I keep mine up all the time. Well, try letting the guard down. Oh, cute cat. Wait, are you guys all talking about the black cat or the other cat? Like, was there another cat here? She's in front of me, so I don't know. Okay, right. Flying Falcon says 27. Bert says you're star to us. +1. And men. I'm a star to men? None of this making any sense. The groups you mentioned for with autistic women, can you recommend any? I don't know whether they're public or not, or, searchable, but if you send me a message, I don't know how you would send me a message. There must be a way you can send me a message. I'll send you a link to them. Identity. I like that. Oh yeah. That was a inadvertent pun. Apparently I need to move there. Move where? This is now like you're responding to things that I said and I've got no idea. Back off to the Netherlands I pop. Haha. His name was Sam. You're not an expert on autism unless you're autistic. I would agree. I would say if you have worked closely with autistic people, especially autistic adults, and you also have an open mind, you don't see it as like you are the like practitioner and they are the patient. If you don't have that kind of relationship, I think that neurotypical people could maybe not become experts, but become very knowledgeable and familiar with it. I think it's possible. But yeah, I don't buy this whole I'm a parent of an autistic child, so I know what it's like, because you know what it's like from your perspective only. And you can only know what it's like from autistic people's perspective unless you listen to autistic people, right? So, Kitty, question mark. I also love NTs assume every autistic has a special talent. Yeah, I mean, I'm very talented, so it's hard for me to relate. No, that was a terrible, terrible joke. Do we have a special talent? I'm not a savant. I'm very good at some things. I'm also quite poor at other things. Oh my god, I've just noticed the bags under my eyes. You are lucky that I'm even up this late, I tell you that. Yeah, the special talent thing is kind of... I've always been somebody that's just been able to pick a lot of things up quite quickly, with the exception of like ball sports. Nobody make a joke, please. Although I did play hockey. No, I'm never very good at ball sports. I was really good at things like gymnastics, but I was terrible when it involved me coordinating myself with another object or person. That didn't work. So, but special talent, yeah, I don't know. It sounds like I'm boasting. I'm good at a lot of things, but I'm really bad at some things. Like if I forget to do things. I just leave things all over the place. So it's sort of the spiky, what's it called? Spiky skills profile of autism. You're really good at some things, really bad at other things. Whereas most people are kind of average. Of course, I spend my life hiding the things I'm bad at because I'm ashamed of them. Like my messy house, which is why the camera is not turned around, because we've been doing there's just crap everywhere. So we'll send you a message on Instagram. Yes, please do. Attention to detail can be a special talent. I agree. And I think that it is a travesty that more autistic people are not employed in jobs where they can use attention to detail as, as their talent. I mean, I will look at something and I'll notice a mistake immediately, whether it's Okay, if I'm tired, maybe not. But, if it's a spelling mistake, I'll just see that. Or if it doesn't make sense or something, I will notice it. And the problem is somebody will give me something and I'll say, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And people don't like that. They want you to say, oh, you did a great job. They want you to do like a compliment bullshit sandwich or whatever they call compliment sandwich. Say something nice, then say what you really want to say, then say something nice again. And that's exhausting because then you have to think about nice things that you have to say to people. I'm not masking, by the way. I don't think I'm right. Late. It's not late. It's a Friday and things are just getting warmed up for the weekend. Fun. Yeah. I have a 2-year-old and I'm exhausted all the time. So I go to bed at like 10 o'clock latest. So it's late. Do I want to join your baseball team? Absolutely not. You're not on one. Great. I'm not going to join it. No, anything with balls is pretty bad. Right. Annabelle says, yep, try it equals succeed at it. I do think I just don't try the stuff I know I can't do, though. Yeah, then it's a bit of a selection bias if you, you only try things that you know you're going to be good at. I don't really get the chance to try a lot of new things, though. I don't know. Lena says, with regard, I think it's Lena, isn't it? Yeah, not, what else would it be? Lina, no, Lena. With regards to ball sports, I was that child who ran the other way playing rounders, so can really... Oh, I see what you mean. You ran the wrong way around. Okay. Yes. I wasn't terrible at rounders, but rounders are pretty easy. I also didn't like the team sports, the team aspect of ball sports. There's no solo sport like that, is there? Like ping pong against the wall, maybe. But yeah, it's just I didn't like relying on other people if in a competition aspect, for when you do a gymnastics competition, you just you do your thing, you're in control of that. Bit of a control freak, I think. Flying Falcon says, attention to detail gave me a good reputation in my last job. I think it's underrated. I think you're right. And I think that people underestimate what people think that they don't miss things. Neurotypical people think they don't miss things, and they underestimate the amount they're missing, and they underestimate the importance that autistic people have in noticing these mistakes and noticing all these things. So I think, yeah, maybe I'll do another video on jobs and stuff like that. The particular strengths. There's a quote from Liam Neeson somewhere in there. I have a particular set of skills or something. Somebody knows that quote better than me. I've never been good at remembering quotes like that. My contacts are really sticking because I thought that said I tried squish in my teens. I was like, what is squish? Squash. Squash is the rackety thing, right? Excelled at running hard into the wall. Yeah. I couldn't do squash. I couldn't do badminton. Tennis was a bit of a, just baseball is like rounders. Yeah, rounders is like the little girl version of baseball. I mean, they might do a rounders league, but I think it's probably niche. Sam, are you a feminist? Yes, of course I am. Annabelle says, who isn't in the real sense? Yes. I mean, I'm a feminist in the real and less real sense. I think if you're not a feminist, you're possibly not paying attention or not paying attention to what women are saying. I think it's hard, certainly as an autistic woman, to have experienced what I've experienced and not be, I think. Masking. Do I mask when I go on a date? Have I ever been on a date is the next question. Let me see. Have I been on a date? I don't think I have ever been on a date where somebody says, would you like to go out with me? And I go, sure, let's go to dinner, la la la. I've never been on a date like that. I had a very poor track record of dating/relationships before I met my husband. And with my husband, we talked on MSN Messenger for like 8 months, and then we decided to go on holiday together. And that was a first date. So dating sounds like a complete nightmare to me. So yes, I would probably mask very heavily on a date. I'm trying to. No, I did have one date where I was on OkCupid, I think. This was like over 10 years ago. And we'd been chatting for months and months and months, and then we went on a date on New Year's Eve because we thought, well, I guess that's a good thing. Did I mask then? Probably. I mean, I think the guy took the piss out of me because I didn't know how to pronounce a brand of champagne that I'd never heard of. Taitinger. I don't know. I remember him taking the piss out of me. So, hindsight, it wasn't a very successful date. But masking when you go on a date, yeah. I mean, dating is awful. Dating is pretty terrible for autistic people, and I think there's a reason why the only things for me that went anywhere were the people I had a chance to talk to and build a relationship with first, and then we either meet or then we do something in real life. Um, I mean, I have a video planned coming up. I haven't filmed it yet, but I've written it about demisexuality, which is like on the asexual spectrum, and I think is very closely related to my autism personally. But essentially, it's sort of this feeling that I'm not attracted to people. I'm not just attracted to people like on the street. I need to have an emotional connection formed before I'm attracted to people. But that is way off the topic of masking. You guys have fun. Make sure to mess with her a lot. I'm going shooting. Cool. You the guy from the south, right? that's a stereotype. I don't mean to laugh at it. Go shoot. Just don't get into trouble. Philip says, as an autistic man, I have a very male brain, which is a huge hurdle in attempting to connect with other women. Does this mean the opposite for autistic women? You mean that it's easier because we have a more male brain, maybe? Is that what you're trying to say? I don't know. I just get on better with autistic people in general. I prefer hanging out with women. I'm just like more of a girl's girl. I don't know. I mean, I'm having a great time hanging out with all of you. Don't get me wrong. Does this mean the opposite? Yeah, I don't necessarily believe in male or female brains. I think that's very dubious. This whole autism is extreme male brain theory has been, I think it's been debunked. You know, Simon, whatever his name is, Simon Baron Cohen, Sasha's cousin, as I refer to him because it sort of reduces his credibility. Hope he's not watching. How do I find out if he's one of my watchers? I just think this autistic male brain thing is like, it's like the left brain, right brain thing. Nobody's right brained. That's not a thing. Not unless you've had half of your brain removed, then you're right brained. But your brain works together. I did a psychology degree. There's a thing in the middle and it goes either side. Like, trust me on this. So left brain, right brain thing is kind of bullshit. And I would say male brain, female brain. I read a book by Cordelia Fine that goes into this. I can't remember the name of the book, but if you search for the author, her name is Cordelia Fine, and she talks about these sort of sex or I can't remember. Yeah, sex differences within the brains. And anyway, getting on a tangent there. You guys trying to get me off topic, aren't you? I could easily info dump on you for hours on the subject. Do you have more difficulty connecting with men? Yes. And I think that ties into my previous comments about feminism. I find it hard to, I don't really know how to say it. I like my husband. Moving on. Lena says, not sure. I actually find men easier to talk to. I feel other women use a lot more non-verbal stuff. Always feels like I'm missing something. Yeah. I guess with men, I always feel like I'm not sure if they're trying to like come on to me or something. And that makes me really, really uncomfortable. I hate it when people I mean, I'm fine if somebody's teasing me, but if somebody's like trying to approach me and I'm like, now I've got this ring and I'm like, don't you see it? This is supposed to be a shield. You're not supposed to do this anymore. But apparently nobody cares. Do women use more non-verbal stuff? Perhaps. The thing is, I don't pick up on the stuff that women use, so I tend to be quite straightforward when I'm talking to women. And I have friends who are like maybe not all autistic, but certainly who are sort of neurodiverse-ish. Is that a word? I don't know. So yeah, it depends who. It depends who, and we're all taking our own little sample size and drawing conclusions about who we like to talk to based on the people that we've known in our lives. But without hard data, there's not really a lot you can say about it. So the women I get on the best with are the ones similar to myself. Yeah, same. I think I like people with a sense of humor. I like people that I can joke around with. I'm always making jokes. I'm always joking around, trying to, be light-hearted about things. So he won't be your woman. He won't be what? Who's a woman? That's what I meant to ask. Right brain, left brain theory. Yeah. I'm left-handed. I don't know if that accounts for anything. I wonder if more people, autistic people, are left-handed actually. Uh, right brain, left brain theory. Maybe we'll do that on another chat. I think we've got more to do, more to say. What is the time now where you are? It is 10 past 9. I am in the Amsterdam time zone. You know how it works. If you're single, nobody's interested. Once you're married, they line up. Yeah, it's like when you got a job, everyone wants to give you a job. And when you're unemployed, nobody wants to interview you. It's because you're in high demand, right? I mean, I'm really not in high demand. Literally, like, nobody flirts with me because I have a big fuck off face most of the time, especially when I'm out and about. Um, I went to the thrift store today and I was 20 minutes early because I'm constantly early for things. And I was like peering in the window, trying to read the signs, seeing, and like, oh, poof, trying not to look like an idiot, doing all these silly masking type things. And this guy he works in the store next door, and he's just like, oh yeah, it's closed, and he's like starting up a conversation with me, which I'm really not in the mood for. And he's like, oh, you can come and have a coffee at ours. It as like hardware store with a bunch of dudes I don't know, and I'm like, no, I'll just go to my gym. It's free there. And I'm like, it didn't occur to me until afterwards that maybe he was like trying to be nice and just like, but I like if somebody says something like that to me, I'm immediately like, no, leave me alone. I'm getting out of here. I do not want to talk to you. I might have had a nice time talking to them. I don't know, but I'm a married lady. Um, I think the parameters, the criteria that they measure the maleness of brains are subjectively cultural, so the basis of science is wobbly. Yes, exactly. This whole like, I think when you start from a position of bias, it doesn't matter what kind of amazing brain scans you do, you're always going to get junk out of it. Like bad data in, junk comes out. And that's the problem with most brain studies, I would say. Brain studies systematically exclude left-handed people unless looking at left-right-handers. So this means that you're not getting a full picture of what's going on in the brain. Just the basis by which they do them is, yeah. Anyway, talking about brains a lot. I'm left-handed. It's 8:10. That means you're in the UK, Laurel. I'm so clever. A fuck off face. What does that look like? um I don't know. I don't know what my fuck off face looks like. It doesn't look this. This is like happy and chatting, and fuck off face is more like just leave me alone. Yes. I was wearing sunglasses. What else does wearing sunglasses mean, guys? Do I need to get a t-shirt printed? Um that's mean. You look nice today. Oh, thank you. I did a heroic dose of mushrooms earlier, so still glowing from that, I guess. Right, good. We come to the end of the comments now. Autistic masking, right? How do we stop autistic masking? I have a whole thing prepared, you guys. I was prepared for this. How do we stop autistic masking? So, I let myself stim in public. I used to stim a lot as a child. Um, I would, I would do a lot of like hair biting and sucking and pulling and fidgeting and picking and yeah, that kind of stuff, which I stopped because people noticed. And well, as they noticed, because I kind of like didn't think that people would notice that I was doing this. As soon as they noticed, I was like, oh, I'm doing something weird. I have to stop this. So I kind of just stopped a lot of stims, and so the ones that I do are kind of socially acceptable, but I've been letting myself do it more to a slightly less socially acceptable level. So hair pulling is definitely one, but like nobody cares if you pull your hair, do they? What else is stimming that I do? Oh, I had a necklace. I made myself a fidget necklace. I've just been like giving myself permission to do these things that I think are weird, but actually when I do them, it's a relief, and it makes me feel suddenly like, oh yeah, that fidgety feeling I have inside, it's sort of gone. Um, Being open about my diagnosis, both online and kind of in real life, has been very freeing for me to stop masking. Because when people know that you're autistic, you have a label not to hide behind, but to shove in people's face. So if somebody says, "Oh, why are you doing that?" or something, you'd be like, "I'm autistic." Um, I don't know. I've never actually said that in that way, but it's sort of nice to know that I could, and because I'm open about it, it's like it's always there. It's always present for me to use. And I think like using the autism card is valid. We live in a difficult world. We live in a difficult world that is set up for neurotypical people. Sorry, I keep bumping my hand on the mic. I feel like something just got put through the letterbox and I got spooked a little bit. So the cat noticed it too. So no, it's just the other cat. I totally got off my train of thought there. I'm really sorry, guys. I'll try harder next time. Gary says, I rub my hands together as a young child. Yep. I do hand hitting when trying to get rid of angry thought. Rub my nose vigorously when I'm excited. I have a friend actually. My theory is she's autistic. I keep making jokes about it, but and she does this like nose rubby thing. She's done it her whole life. Drink your tea. It's getting cold. This is actually a very well insulated. No, you're right, Annabelle. It is getting cold. I do hand hitting, rub my nose vigorously. It would be nice to hear about stimming examples you guys do. I used to bite me inside my cheeks, like that. It looks funny. I don't do it in public. Yeah, I do a lot fidgety with my hands, which is why I'd really like to explore some of the sensory toys and things like that are available. Squeezy. I go through cycles like biting and picking my nails. At the moment, it's not too bad, but winter is coming, so it's going to get worse. There are some stims I do when I'm sort of like restless, and there are some that I do when I'm agitated. And so somebody says I rock backward and forward. I'll do that when I'm agitated, or like just trying to emotionally, you know, get something. So there are some which are kind of like happy stims, and then there are others which are distress stims. I don't know if there's any crossover actually. What do you guys think? Do you have happy ones and distressed stims, or do you have the same stims and they come up at different times? Let me know. I whistle. Oh my god, I hate whistling. I'm really sorry. Don't whistle at me. If you whistle nicely, that's okay. I'm going to be seeing you soon, aren't I, Annabelle? Yay. Gary says you're a natural live stream. Cool, thank you. Biting my nails still, hand rubbing, not being able to sit still. Yeah, I can't sit still. I've never been able to sit still, which is why I think I started doing gymnastics, because then you don't have to. Or you do stay really, really still, but it's like a controlled still, isn't it? Lip biter, chewy necklace. Sorry, this is for people who are watching it back. I'm just like reading the comments. Lip biter, chewy necklace. Who knows? Bought a chewy necklace to use instead, which is great, but far too embarrassed to use it in public. Yeah, that's my kind of like next goal. To be honest, at the moment though, I'm not in public that much. I'm spending a lot of time in my home, and then I go to the supermarket, and then I go for a walk with my child, and it's like but yeah, the specific sort of autistic toy market is something I really am interested in. The chewy stuff, the fidget spinners, the fidget what are those things called? The flippy things, the cubes, all these kind of things. So you'll probably see some videos on that coming up soon. Happy and angry stims. Annabelle says, I'll not do it in your ear. Thank you, Annabelle. That's very kind of you. Right, I was still talking about dropping the mask. So stimming, being open, using diagnosis as a shield. And one way that I really dropped the mask is I don't force myself to make eye contact with people anymore, and it's much better. Um, I never really I never found eye contact painful exactly, but for me, the difficulty was that I was just, um, I don't know, constantly like thinking, when do I look? Do I look there? Am I looking at this eye or that eye or looking at the nose? Look away and then go back. And so it was like constantly trying to figure it out rather than paying attention to what the person was saying. Um, and being appropriate, neurotypical appropriate eye contact is, yeah, I mean, it's tiring. For me, one of the more exhausting parts of sort of masking is constantly looking in the right place. Um, and I've just found that being aware of that and stopping has been quite freeing because I can just look at my hands and try and think about what I'm trying to say. And that's the nice thing about doing a live stream is I don't have any eyes looking at me. Like I know theoretically there's 15 people watching me, which is awesome. Thank you guys. But it's yeah, it's like just stop it, guys. You don't need to make eye contact with people. They don't care. And if they do, they don't. This is like my jaded, depressed self coming through now. No, it's not like that. But yeah, so those are the things that I've been doing to drop the mask. But uh, in a way, don't know how to not do it because I've been I said at the beginning, I'm playing the part of Sam. I've been playing myself for so long now. Um, who else am I going to be? So it's like I'm artificially playing myself, and I'm a real person. I'm a real character. But what started as fake has now become who I really am. Perhaps I don't know. I've got more comments. Have I ever ordered Chewy Gem products? No, but I am going to. Shine Your Light Collective says, I'm a big vocal stimmer, sound effects, repeating words, singing, humming for my happiest stim. My biggest stim when I'm just dressed is rocking back and forth. Yeah, I think a lot of autistic people do rocking specifically as a just stressed one. And then a lot of people who do like those sort of noises, like kitty noises and things like that. And vocal stimmer. I don't think I vocally stim very much. Maybe sometimes. I think eating the food that I actually like that tastes good is a form of stimming for me as well. If you think there are the chewy stimming tools, but they don't taste good. Yeah, well, chewing on silicone, that's the thing. What I would really love is because I pretty much eat low carb, but I really like crunchy things, and it has to be these sort of constructed crunchy chip things, like those, like, not potato crisps because they're just potatoes that are cut, but the ones that like are so processed and then reformed into the shapes. They have a particular crunch, and so I eat those things not because I want to eat them, and I really shouldn't be eating carbs, but it's but you can't get that crunch out of a silicon necklace, so they need to invent like a crunchy chewy toy. Should I patent that? I don't know what it would be made out of. Like, I don't know. If we can find a way to make something that crunches when you chew it but doesn't use up, that would be awesome. We'll be millionaires. This person says, I hate being hungry, so it's useful overall. I hate being hungry too, and that's why I don't eat carbs. The chewing and good taste are a good distraction. Yes, I agree. I avoid chewing gum because the chemicals in them. Yeah, and chewing gum also contains plastic. Who knew that? Everything contains plastic. It's good not to hold too much eye contact in conversation, like you're staring at someone. Yes. Well, apparently, I actually read a study that did a sort of like eye tracking study on where neurotypical people look during conversations, and they aren't making as much eye contact as they think they are. So if you program robots to make eye contact that neurotypical people think they make, the robots come off looking really, really creepy. So they're not actually doing that. It's like a much more back and forth game. They found out that they make eye contact when they turn swap. So when you finish saying something, you make eye contact, and then the other person starts talking. This was kind of revelation to me. Like, there is a method to the madness, but I don't have the study. I was reading about it somewhere on the internet, so who knows where it's ended up. But that was very interesting to me. So maybe I will do something on that a bit later. Gosh, we've been going over an hour. You guys, thank you so much for watching. This has also been really great to up my watch hours because I'm still a little bit short of that for monetization. So it'd be really nice to be able to earn a little bit of money on YouTube once I get to that point. So you guys watching is really, really helping me at the moment. Sam, do you speak your mind all the time, or have you learned to keep quiet at set times with other people? Mm, both. I speak my mind more with the people I'm comfortable with, and I shut up more with people I'm not comfortable with. Um, I don't really like conflict, so I'm more inclined to shut up. Uh, yeah, I don't speak my mind as much as you might think. I have had horrible things happen as a consequence of speaking my mind. I've lost friends over it, and so it's scary to do. It's a scary thing to do. So food is a stim too. I was such a picky eater and still am, but since I can choose myself, I try out a lot. That's exactly what happened to me, actually. I did a video very recently about food stuff, and I think moving out and living on my own, or at least in halls at uni, and being in control, in full control of the food I ate, meant that I was able to try out a lot more things. Annabelle has opened the Pringles. Crunch, 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 crunch. Laurel says, "I speak my mind." Bert says, "I speak my mind too often." I am glad. I would like to speak my mind more often, but like I said, I've lost friends over speaking my mind and saying things, even just saying things in slightly the wrong tone. So, yes. I wish I could speak my mind too. It was easier when I was a kid. Yeah, there's less repercussions when you're a kid. You can do all sorts of stuff. Life gets harder when you're an adult. It does, you know. You're expected to be a grown up. You're expected to be able to do all these things, and yeah, I mean, sucks, doesn't it? I think this is like I'm starting to get tired now. Yeah, life sucks. Where's my wine? No, I'm on cold tea now, everybody. Tone is a huge problem for me. I never seem to have the right one. Yeah. Um, Sometimes I think the thing with tone is that sometimes I'll say something and it will be sort of like an artificially constructed thing that I'm saying, or something that I've heard someone else say it. And I want to say the words that I'm saying, but I take the tone with it, and then I put it into the conversation, and then immediately when I've said it, I'm like, that wasn't the tone that I meant to take. And doing that actually is helpful for people because it's like, hey, sorry, I'm autistic. I sometimes get tone wrong, and I didn't mean to use that tone. And I've found that quite helpful for people because it's, you know, that's letting the mask down. Because before, um, if I'd said something in a funny tone, I probably would have just like gone really sort of hyper and like energetic, try to change the subject or laugh it off or make another joke or do something stupid. But now it's more like more relaxed, more chill, more just like, hey, look, I'm not perfect. These are my flaws. I made this mistake. This is not what I mean. I'm sorry. I'm not even going to apologize for it because this is just that's not what I meant. Um, but yeah, it's kind of a process of trying to find the right people as well because there are some people that if you stop masking they won't want to be your friend anymore, and that's, you know, that's the sad truth, isn't it? They don't want to see what's underneath. You know, fun hyper people are sometimes more fun to be with than sulky moody autistic people. You guys are finding me fun though, right? Um, let's have a see. People think I'm childish when I stim too. Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like autism also makes me feel just childish in general. Like I can't make a phone call and I feel like a child because, well, I had this problem when I was a child or a teenager. Yeah, I sort of feel in a state of perpetual childhood, but in some ways I feel like everybody's really immature as well. So, don't know. It's funny there. Volume of my voice is hard. Like people either say too loud or too quiet for me. I get that too. Yeah, a lot. And noise, sound processing, auditory processing is another really big one. But I'm not going to talk about that. That's too big a topic. Auditory processing. I'm sorry. Every time I do that to my chin, I move the mic, and I'm sure that makes a horrible noise for you guys. Can you explain autistic masking more in depth? Meaning how it manifests itself, the energy drainage, particularly in females. What is behind the mask, even? How it manifests itself. How it manifests itself is that nobody knows I'm autistic most of the time when I'm masking. And so it's like a perfect disguise, isn't it? And what is behind the mask? That's a question that I'm still working on. I'm still working on how much of the mask is me, how much has been assimilated, how much, how much I have assimilated into myself of this person, Sam, that I've been being my life, but wasn't really me at the time, but I've been being her for so long. How do I know? How do I know what's what anymore? So yeah, that's a good question. The energy drainage of it. I did talk about that a bit earlier, but energy drainage. It drains energy. I don't know really what else to say about that. Maybe some of you guys could it's the best way I can explain it is that it's like being in a play. So if you've ever done a school play or acting or something like that, you go on stage and like you have an hour and a half performance and you gear up to it, you do that, and then you're just like, whew, we did a play, and it's an exhausting thing. And so in terms of energy drainage, masking to me is like I'm in a play all the time. So you can imagine the impact that that has. I don't know if anyone else feels like that play analogy works for anyone else. Gary says, this is my fourth live stream I've been on since Saturday. Cool. Who else have you been live streaming with? I'm curious to know. What are some feelings, thoughts the female may even have during interaction? What is she left to feel, do, I guess? Not sure what you mean. Do you mean the female who's masking or the female who's being masked to? I'm not sure about that. Waltzing on waves. A lot of people talk about how emails and texts are not safe communications for the potential of misinterpretation, but I love it because I don't have to express tone or interpret the tone of others. I agree. And I am I find it very nice to do emails, and a very nicely crafted email can really come across very nicely. Other people don't necessarily take the same time and care. But yeah, I do. The thing I don't like though is how I feel this is like neurotypicals ruining everything or something. Is this whole tone implied by mostly text, like full stop, yes, full stop. I mean, I also find it fascinating, but I also don't like it. So if you ask someone a question and they reply yes, full stop, that's sort of like they're pissed at you. The thing that I mean, I find that very fascinating how we have started to convey tone with very, very subtle things, dot dot dots, and all these kind of things. Oh, I'm like swaying a little bit. That's exciting. Is this a stim? Not sure. Um, but it's also really stressful because it's like, okay, well, I pick up that the person is pissed off at me. I don't know why. And I mean, that's the story of my life. I pick up their micro expressions. I can pick up their body language, and I know something's off. I'm really, really sensitive actually to that kind of thing, but I still don't know why or what I've done. So yeah, I just like people to be straightforward. Um, I prefer writing to you. It's much more comfortable, safe, and less overwhelming. Can sort my thoughts better through it. That's the thing. You can write somebody an email and you can have time to think. You can sleep on it and go back to it and re-edit it, and you have a much better chance of coming across in a genuine way than if somebody springs something on you and you're forced to just reply here, like I'm doing right now. Um, Energy accounting, it's a new thing. Yes, I think it's like spoon theory. All right. So Maria's answering females who masking. So what was that? The thing. What are some feelings, thoughts a female may have during the interaction when she's masking? Um. So when I'm masking, it's like, hmm. I mean, I have an internal monologue a lot of the time, and so when I'm masking, I'm sort of trying to process that at the same time. So I'm sort of actively thinking about what I'm going to say. Uh. Yeah. I'm having a conversation with someone, but I'm also thinking in my head, right, okay, so maybe I should talk about this, or I need to be making eye contact or something. So it's sort of like an ongoing monologue in my head about how I'm behaving and how I could be behaving better or more neurotypically or more appropriately being neurotypically appropriate. Um, which of course means that I'm not giving my full attention to the conversation. So it comes at a cost that I'm not actually engaged in the conversation. And usually it's because the conversation is boring. Because if I'm having a conversation about something that's really interesting, I'm probably not masking. So masking tends to be in sort of small talk conversations, things that I'm finding boring or something like that. I hope that answered your question, Maria Anna. Um, Koa likes Desi? Hello. Can I ask what social cues you often don't get? um, so many. I don't know how to tell whether somebody's bored with what I'm saying or bored in life or just tired or just hungry. I find it hard to tell when somebody's annoyed or bored with me or just that's who that's how they are, in themselves. They're having a bad day or something. I pick up on things, but I don't know why. So I'll pick up on tone. I'll pick up that somebody's annoyed with me. I'll pick up all these little things, but I'm like, well, is it because of me or is it because of this or why? So those are the things that I find, and that's very difficult because you're trying to interact with someone. It's and you're masking. It's constantly like you're constantly on a feedback loop, right? Am I doing this successfully? So you're monitoring yourself as well. And if you don't know whether these social cues are, if you don't know whether you're getting them right, it's like you're second guessing yourself all the time, and suddenly you're having to work twice as hard at doing it. And it's just, yeah, I I don't know if that answered your question. Um, I've been watching your channel for the last few months. Kudos on top content. Thank you. That's really nice. Thanks. Bert says, writing for me is much better. I can take my time to figure out what I want to say and edit it until I am satisfied with it. Yes, that's pretty much what I said earlier, isn't it? Yeah. Do you like living in the Netherlands? I reckon it's a great country, but their language is ugly. No offense to any Dutch people. Lol. Yeah, it is. It's nice. I like living here. We have a better quality of life than I ever had in London. Um, it's a more family oriented society. Like there is more space for older generations and younger generations and more public spaces in general, and it's just like kind of a nice chill country to live in. There are downsides, like a bit boring maybe. I don't know. Language is ugly. I mean, it is when you pronounce the letter G by going this is obviously in North Holland. In the south they have these beautiful soft G's, but that's considered an accent. um yeah, it's not the most attractive language. And I've learned German. I used to speak German, and once you know Dutch, it's like German just sounds so beautiful. And that's not something I thought I'd say on this live stream anyway. Um, so Gary, you were saying says Francis. Don't know him. Aspie World and Connor yesterday evening. Yeah, I know the last two. I don't know who says Francis is. I will look him or her up. Indiana was last week live stream. Yes, I was on that chat, I think. I started using that term internal monologue after you mentioned it. Yeah. Well, my internal monologue, The nice thing about this is that I'm talking so much, I barely get a chance to let it set in. So that's been a positive. Oh my gosh, it's been going for an hour and 20, an hour and 20 of me talking, you guys. You are champions. Um, right. I'm sort of wondering if I should wrap it up here. Are you guys still interested, or what are you guys doing for the rest of the night? I'm about to go to bed. What are you guys doing? I'm going to drink cold tea and uncross my legs, I think. Oh, I'll see if I've got more on the notes that I wrote, because I wrote all these notes. Um, oh, I did write notes about drinking. We could talk about drinking if you like. MIAR says, yes, in regards to continuous self-monitoring and evaluation whether well or not reacting. Yeah, I find that very tiring. Is the one of the more tiring parts of masking is self-monitoring, saying, am I doing all right, constantly. But it's easier just not to give a fuck, isn't it? Laurel D's gaming on Minecraft. Cool. But my evening is free. Keep going. Best Friday in a long time. Thank you, Bert. But that's Dutch, right? Are you Dutch? Laurel says, keep going. Dance, monkey, dance, dance. I'm like actually sweating here, guys, you know. Yeah, I think I'd really like to get a better webcam for this, because this is looking it's also kind of smudgy because I normally keep a sticker up there, which is why you have this beautiful effect. I will talk about drinking. Which is an interesting one, because I didn't drink very much as a teenager because I was kind of goody two shoes. No, I don't know. Annabelle's laughing. I'm glad you find it funny, Annabelle. Yeah, I didn't really drink that much as a teenager. I remember like 16 or 17, I would have a Bacardi Breezer. I'd be like, oh, I'm so tipsy. I mean, isn't that every teenager though? But when I turned 18, I started drinking. And then I started realizing that drinking made things firstly more fun, but more importantly, drinking turned off the inner monologue. It made me not care so much about whether I was doing well. Um, which is interesting. And I don't know, obviously alcohol is a depressant, and so it does, it just sort of blunts everything in your brain. It also makes social situations, every time I say social situations on this channel, I say that social situations, it makes them easier to deal with, because if they're in like a noisy pub or something, all your senses are dampened because you're just drinking yourself to oblivion. It doesn't matter so much that there's noise, because you can just shout what, you know, all the sensory stuff, it doesn't seem to matter so much. So the drinking was sort of like, it helped shut down the internal monologue, helped blur my senses to the sort of um hyper what am I trying to say, dampen my sort of hypersensitive response to things. um and it just helped me not care about other people's responses so much, which is you know, it's, when you put it like that, it's not good. It also helped me mask better, because when you make social mistakes and you're drinking, but everyone else is drinking, all you do is you're like, yeah, man, I was so drunk, so drunk. And you can get away with anything. And that was basically my university experience. It was pretty awful because, well, I assume it's still the same. I know the generation below me, they drink less than I think our generation did. But when I was at university, it was just like non-stop drinking. If you didn't drink, you were probably in the Christian Union. That was it. That was just, you know, you could be in the Christian Union or you could go out and drink with everyone. There was very few people who didn't drink. Or at least they probably stay at home. I don't know. So yeah, it really helped me mask, because you can just do whatever you want, and you can say, oh yeah, I was so drunk, it doesn't matter. And that's a crutch. It's a dangerous crutch, and it's not good for you. And um I would like to say I just matured and that's why I stopped drinking, but honestly, my body just couldn't handle it anymore. My body couldn't keep up with it. Um, and my brain, well, I would get very anxious the next day. So it was like a natural process. I suddenly, when I was 25, I was that sort of age, I felt like I just couldn't do it anymore. So I didn't. I still drink, but much, much less. I mean, like, I've got a toddler. I'm not going out getting drunk, but I'll have a few glasses maybe on a Saturday night, something like that. Or on a live stream, maybe, such as this one, but this is tea. So, if it was wine, I would not have made it last this long. So, what are we talking about? Booze. Um, yeah, it helps you blend in, and when everybody else is drinking too, then they don't give a shit whether you're masking or you're being a bit weird or something. They don't care as well. So really, it's an excellent social lubricant, and I think, I don't know, I suspect a lot of autistic people drink for the same reasons that I've just talked about. Um, but certainly taking off the mask a bit since my diagnosis and just being diagnosed in general has helped me be a lot more confident about who I am. So I don't really drink that much. Also, I live in a country where other things are available legally, so drinking is less of a priority. But it says born in Germany but living in Velsen for most of my life. Cool. Bert Singles. It's a very Dutch. I've been doing this for an hour and a half. Like, cut me some slack if I can't talk anymore. I can't read that. Giop Kijo. I have problems with the theory exam of the driver's license. Guess because of lack of short-term memory, the multiple choice options are so confusing. Do you have tips? What country are you in? I did the theory test in the UK, and then I did it again over here because I didn't pass the practical in the UK, so I had to do theory here as well in English. Generally, multiple choice questions are confusing because they're terribly worded, and I've found that to be the case for both the UK and the Dutch ones. And I don't necessarily well, the short-term memory, it doesn't help that I think there's a time limit on them, and then that is more stressful. I'm not really sure if I had tips. I had much more difficulty with the practical stuff through nerves and various other things. The theory ones I didn't have as much problem with, but I do want to do a video on driving while autistic or driving while autistic, you know, being autistic and driving and having issues with driving and all stuff like that, because I certainly think the way that the exams are set up are not very friendly for autistic people. You said the multiple choice options, the wrong ones. I'm getting caught up on this detail, the wrong ones. You mean when they try and trick you with giving you fake wrong answers? Yeah, I hate that. Multiple choice questions are so annoying. Just in general. Like, you can tell that a neurotypical came up with that idea, didn't they? Gary says alcohol slows down the subconscious part of the brain. Yes, I agree. Shine Your Light Collective. I found your channel yesterday, the Two-Face video. It was good. Looking forward to seeing more of your videos. Thank you. It was nice seeing you. Just starting my day here in the USA, so about to go. See you later. Cool. See you later. Thank you for catching up just a little bit. Laurel says, I don't drink. Good for you, Laurel. Jup. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm really sorry. I never drink. Avoid it because I could get addicted easily since it helps with numbing all the struggles. Yes. I can only handle sweet alcohol anyway, so I stick to chocolate. Oh, I have chocolate. Yes. I don't have any sugar, so I can't stomach the sweet stuff. I'm kind of like the opposite now. I can only have the really non-sweet stuff. Yeah. See, this is the thing. Like, I don't know whether I had any kind of addiction or whether it was just I was just addicted to this feeling of freedom and social stuff. I think I was actually addicted to booze. I just think that alcohol is addictive, so the more you drink it, the more you want to drink it, you know. Sorry, I find it really hard to pass this username. Koa likes Desi, yeah. In the 90s, when I was a teen, most who didn't drink were deemed losers. Yeah, that was when I went to university too. I don't think people binge drink as much now. I don't think they do, especially not people who are at university these days. But has confirmed he's Of Dutch provenance, yes. Job says currently in Germany they're pretty strict and it's expensive. We're talking about driving stuff here, yeah. Yeah, and I imagine it's probably in German. I don't know if you can do it in English there. I don't know. If you're in Germany, I feel like if I was in Germany, I would write to them and I would just be like, "This is not correct," or something. If I was having issues with the exam, I don't know. I'm getting really tired, guys. You can tell this because this is like my bedtime, so I'm making less and less sense. I'm sorry I don't have more tips for the driving license stuff. I found the multiple choice stuff easy, but I do well on tests. I get frustrated because they're so badly written, and there's not really much you can do about that apart from writing to them and telling them this is confusingly written. Um oh, you said more. The meaning of many questions is not detailed, so I interpret it many different ways. Yes, and this is the exact problem that I have with any questionnaires and things like that because there are a lot of questionnaires written, but not a lot of people know that there is kind of like an art and a science to writing good questionnaires. And this is something when I did psychology, you were taught how to develop questionnaires without bias and that are not confusing and stuff like this. But a lot of people do not know this, and um, I actually think, for example, the what's it called, the AQ, the test which they do as a sort of preliminary "Are you autistic?" thing. I don't think I even came out remotely autistic on that thing because it's like, "Are you fascinated with numbers?" I'm like, "No, I'm not fascinated with numbers. What are you talking about?" Um, but but then since I've started my YouTube channel, I'm like, I like my stats. I'm growing in my analytics. This is awesome. Look, I've gone up 50%. And I'm like getting so excited by this, but I'm not fascinated by numbers. Don't be ridiculous. So it's totally the way that it's written. And the problem is if it's written by a neurotypical person, then it's going to be interpreted by a neurotypical person. And if an autistic, I think autistic people would make very good questionnaire writers and very good, you know, multiple choice test writers and things like that. Because I think that we will see things from the different angles and we will spot the incongruencies. Incongruencies, is that a word? I hope so. Um, yes. Now Gary says, "How you don't which cafe in Amsterdam are drug free?" Maybe that's a typo. How do you know which cafe in Amsterdam are drug free? Well, theoretically, unless you're in a coffee shop, you're in a cafe. So the coffee shops are the ones with the drugs, and then the cafes are the cafes like just coffee and stuff. Um, I don't really know. I don't go into Amsterdam that much because I hate it because it's full of people. It's full of rowdy groups of people on their stag do's and stuff like that. And to be honest, there are nicer places in the area. So I'm not a fan of being in the city all the time. So anyway, this person says driving license repeatedly practicing was my solution. Yes, I think that can work for a lot of things. That was my solution for the practical section. I didn't wasn't a problem with driving exactly, but it was definitely a problem with the driving test, the practical test. So practice, yes, in the end I ended up taking so many driving lessons. It cost a fortune, but I passed in the end. Yes, sorry, I'm bashing this. Yes, and I've now been driving for a year and a half, and I've had my license for 2.5 years. So, Annabelle says, "Boys' bedtime, so I'm off. Good one." Yes, thank you, Annabelle. I will see you next week. Um, I passed my UK theory test easily. I fucked up my practical though, but I'm confident I can pass it soon enough. Yeah. I feel like driving tests are very unfair for autistic people because they seem to make them as stressful as possible. And there are lots of people who do develop specific driving anxiety. Um and I think you just have to say, okay, well, I might have to take it all these times, but I will just take it and I will take it until I pass. And then once you pass, it doesn't matter anymore. But I'd like to do a video on driving. I can't believe there's still 14 of you who are watching me. That's so sweet. I'm making less and less sense by the minute. This is what happens when I get tired. I'm much more of a morning person. But nobody's going to watch a live stream at 8 in the morning, are they? Um, I did a stats task and was in class and was taught not to use leading questions. Yeah, leading questions is a good one. It's also a lot of like structure and stuff. They found that what was this in the census? Um, they got different results. I think this was the 2001 census, or maybe it was the 2011 census. They found that when they switched the order of two questions around, they got different results. So they would ask, if they ask, "What is your religion?" first, people would put what their religion is. And then they would say, "What is your race?" or something. They found that if they switched those two questions round, they would get a really different response. So if people are primed to say what is their race, so maybe they are like a Pakistani, and so but just by putting the idea of race in people's heads, they would then go on to answer like I'm a Muslim or something, rather than maybe they're an atheist, or what is your race? Like I am English. Is English a race? No, but you know what I mean. Somebody might call it a race. I'm white. Sorry, I didn't mean to. That was awkward. I did not mean to do that. Um, they might say I am white, and so the fact that they are thinking about their race makes them more likely to put I'm Christian, even if they are like maybe not they're not practicing, but they're more likely to identify with it. So even the question order can affect people's answers on it. You have to be so careful with questionnaires, and yeah, I think this relates quite a lot to autism and the variety of questionnaires that are used. Because actually, on my diagnosis, I didn't get autism on all of them. I didn't, I didn't pass all the tests, and the AQ, I think specifically, I didn't come up, didn't flag me up as. But obviously, some of the ones I did seem autistic on. So luckily, I had a psychologist who diagnosed me very thoroughly. She used a variety of questionnaires and interviews and all this kind of stuff. So kind of made sense. Autism, the whole thing. But yeah, if the order of a question can make such a difference to people's response, like the wording of a question, leading questions, all these kind of things, basically, it's just you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful, and you cannot take all these tests as gospel either. Excuse me. Just questionnaires are hell. Yes. I think I have ADD or ADHD. I did okay in my lessons, got freaked out in the driving tests. I'll still do my best to pass it. Hope you do well. Good luck. Gary says I've been to Bruges in Belgium, but not been to Holland. Um, Bruges is nice. It's very touristy. Holland is it's nice. If you go to the touristy bits, it's very touristy. If you go to tulip area in the tulip season, it's packed full of tourists. I feel like this is happening all over Europe. All of these cities are becoming more caricatures of themselves. That is a discussion for a different time. I had to retake the theoretical driving test because the questions just weren't logical to me. Yeah, right. Um, Luckily, that was the cheaper one to retake. Yeah. Honestly, I'm getting to the point in my life where if something like that happens, I am just going to start like complaining and writing to people and saying, you have to change this. This doesn't make sense. But, and Jup says, thank you for your explanation. I think you're correct. It's very much for neurotypical people. And the driving will be more difficult. No. Once you get it though, it's fine. I had a like panic attack on my first driving test in the UK. I was just so nervous, and I felt like I'd been doing it okay. I was just like shaking. I was absolutely like I never usually sweat when I'm nervous, but I was sweating like the beads were dripping down my face, and I was just clenching the steering wheel. Like these people, they could do more to make you feel at ease. And then right at the end, it was like another learner driver had stopped on a double red line on a really really busy thing, and I just didn't see it in time. And then the I did see it, I just didn't see it as quickly as the instructor would have liked, and so she slammed on the brakes for me because uh, you have a dual control. And somebody doing that to me just freaks me out. And so I basically just like completely lost it in the middle of the road, in the middle of my driving test. And that was my first driving test. So um, driving tests are pretty awful, but you will get there. It took me a while. So um, You guys, there's 16 of you watching. I am going to have to go to bed now because I've been doing this for an hour and 40. It's really nice that you were able to join me for this. And I hope I've answered your questions and I hope it's been interesting. I mean, I'm guessing the fact that there's 16 of you here, it's been interesting. Maybe I am a natural. Um, and thank you also because I have not been masking. This was a very pleasant first live stream experience. So I will drink my cold tea. I will say goodbye to you all. Do you have final comments? This is very judge. What are your closing statements? Crickets. Tumbleweed. Okay, should I just say goodbye then? Thanks, bye. Cool. Nice and autistic, straight to the point. Thank you for your time doing this. Aw, good night, everybody. This was a great stream. Thank you. Keep making more vids. Shall do. You guys are so nice. I was just expecting to be trolled on YouTube when I set up my channel, but like, why are you guys so nice? Bye, everybody. I'm going to stop now. Last comments, please, and then I'll say bye-bye. Go have fun. Take the mask off. Take it off. I'm going to go take my makeup off and my contacts out. Being a cunt is needless. Cool. Have a good rest. It's why I'm not trolling. Oh, okay, I see. It is needless. Yes, there's no need to be a cunt. I don't know. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? Who knows? All right. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. And I hope you have a really nice Friday night and enjoy whatever you're doing this weekend. And I will see you next week. Bye.